Now is Christian Leuprecht, a military analyst, senior fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute and the Center for North American Prosperity and Security. Christian, thanks for being here. I want to get your reaction to President Trump talking about this meeting, the significant one that's supposed to be upcoming with Vladimir Putin later this week in Alaska, too. But went back and forth. Zelensky is not supposed to be there. Trump said that he maybe should be there. What's your reaction to, again, the latest that we heard from Donald Trump today?
This is quintessential Donald Trump. He's trying to let everybody know that the U.S. is still the top dog. The U.S. decides what is going to happen, where it's going to happen, and how it's going to happen. Look, just the meeting location itself is somewhat humiliating for Putin, having to meet on a territory that Russia sold to the United States 150 years ago. So there's a lot of symbolism, and I think this is what Trump has always held out for, that if he's going to meet with Putin, he's going to meet on Trump's terms, in the United States. And of course, Russian posturing has been, a narrative that there'll be some subsequent meeting in Moscow, but there's been no confirmation to that effect from the White House. And I think Putin learned from the India-Pakistan deal and how Trump dealt with those two countries. That was somewhat humiliating for India. And so I think Putin is willing to meet with Trump because he's under considerable duress. He can see the writing on the wall economically if Trump implements the sanctions package. And so I think I actually see a silver lining here that Trump may actually exert considerable pressure on Putin.
And do you think so? If there is going to be that pressure, if Donald Trump does hold a little bit of this leverage now too, is it realistic at all to think that this could lead to a meaningful ceasefire, at least at this point, or is that really off the table without Ukraine also being part of this conversation?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, of course, there's been lots of back and forth, including Steve Witkoff in Moscow. So we don't know what's going on sort of behind the scenes here. But certainly, look, I think what Trump is signaling is the U.S. actually holds the most cards in this game. Russia holds a few cards, and Zelensky holds one card, which is the veto card, if he doesn't like the deal. And I think it's promising that Trump is now talking in terms of respect for Zelensky, calling him first, that Trump is talking to in terms of coordinating with European partners, with NATO partners, with the European Union, recognizing that they have a major stake in what's happening, but also recognizing that Putin isn't going to be meeting with any of them. He's only going to be meeting with Trump. So if we want to bring this terrible war of aggression by Russia on Ukraine to at least some sort of a sensible ceasefire, then I think this is probably a good prospect. And I think there's probably a deal in here that can appease everybody, which is mirrored probably on the former West and East Germany, where Ukraine could say this remains our territory, Russia occupies it, and we can all hope that some years or some decades from now, Ukraine is going to get its rightful sovereign land back.
Yeah, and again, so let's stick with that hypothetical, possibly, right? If they agree to the framework to possibly end the war, you touched on it maybe there, but just maybe expand for me, will you, some of the long-term security implications for North America and maybe globally too?
Yeah, so this is, of course, a part of Trump's broader sort of effort, I think, to continue to posture the United States as the leading country in the world and to do that for many years to come. And so all the threats and all the Russian weaponry notwithstanding, what this conflict, and in particular last 6 months, have really exposed is just how weak Russia is. Look, if North Korea is sort of your best ally and Iran that you can work with. So I actually think this is sort of a period of promise in terms of U.S. strength, contrary to what many other commentators believe. And I think Trump understands that he needs a sustainable deal for Ukraine with some sustainable security guarantees. But I suspect that this is not going to be all hammered out in one go. Rather, there's going to be a ceasefire with then hammered out some sort of sustainability in terms of what that means in terms of security guarantees for Ukraine. And it seems what's the most promising is that Trump is not willing to abrogate Ukrainian sovereignty and Ukrainian sovereign decision-making. That is to say that Ukraine will have a vote in a deal that ultimately must meet its own best sovereign interests as deemed by Ukraine and Ukrainians.
Okay, we'll see what happens later this week. Christian Leuprecht, military analyst, senior fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute. Thanks for your time today.